Incredible discovery. Millionaire uncovers touching truth after little girl sobbed. Daddy lives. Jack Lawson was the type of millionaire that everyone loved to hate, rich, successful, and usually the one to write the biggest checks at charity events. But on this sunny Saturday afternoon, surrounded by the familiar village of his childhood, his wealth felt like a shroud rather than a triumph. The local community center was buzzing with laughter and chatter, but Jack felt as if he were standing behind glass, his affluence creating a distance between him and the people who nurtured his dreams. Right at the edge of the event, a small stand captured his attention. There, under a hand-drawn sign that read Mia's Lemonade, stood a little girl with big, determined eyes. She was no older than 9, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail, and her face held a seriousness that clashed with her age. Jack's instincts kicked in. He remembered what it felt like to be at the heart of something greater than oneself. "Lemonade, sir?" Mia chirped, her voice a mixture of hope and innocence. When Jack's eyes fell upon her, her demeanor suddenly shifted. Her brave front crumbled, and she began to cry. "Daddy lives," she sobbed. It was a simple phrase, but it struck Jack like a bolt of lightning. The words echoed in his chest. He felt a sharp pang, a connection to a world he thought he had left behind, to life's fragility, to what it was to truly care. Before he knew it, he was gripping his wallet tightly. "How much for a cup, Mia?" he asked, his heart swelling. She looked up, her tears shimmering like jewels in the afternoon sun. $2, sir." He handed over a $10 bill and scanned the room filled with smiling faces, a community that was his past and present. But as Jack stepped further into this interaction, he found that not everyone welcomed Mia's family. Murmurs swelled as some community members questioned the worthiness of people like her father. "They just want a handout," one man sneered. Jack felt his blood boil. These were the same folks who had once encouraged him to chase his dreams, yet here they were, casting shadows on someone else's. Determined to help, Jack dove into the depths of Mia's father's story. He unraveled the layers of a man who had fought for his country, only to be left feeling like a ghost haunting the edges of society. Each revelation cracked open Jack's heart, and he felt not just rage for the injustice, but a reflection of his own disconnected state. He had mountain springs of money, but none of that compared to the true grit and pride of his family. Just when he believed he could make a difference by organizing a fundraiser to lift their burdens, the event spun out of control, igniting fire instead of unity. Divisions flared among neighbors. Jack realized that wealth couldn't solve every mess, it only amplified existing rifts. He stood on the cusp of a revelation, a crucial moment when he had to confront Mia's father. Their confrontation rattled Jack to his core. Here he stood, covered in the illusion of prosperity, yet feeling very much poor in soul. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." Jack was lost in thought as he turned back to Mia, whose hopeful eyes pierced through his confusion. She stepped forward, asking simply, "Will you help my daddy?" Those words hit him with the weight of the world, and he stood there, feeling the delicate balance of humanity in that moment. He realized he was at a crossroads, but just what path would lead him back to the heart of humanity? Jack's heart thumped painfully in his chest as he knelt down to meet Mia's gaze. Her innocent question lingered in the air, hanging like a fragile promise. "Of course, I will do my best to help," he replied, his voice trembling with emotions he hadn't expected to feel. He wanted to bring hope to a little girl whose life was already tangled in hardship. Mia's face brightened for an instant. "Really?" she asked, awe sparkling in her eyes. Jack nodded, and her little hands clapped with delight. Yet his heart remained a jumble of uncertainty. Helping was easier said than done, and the chasm between wealth and need was deeper than he had anticipated. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the community center. Jack reflected on the conversations swirling around him. The whispers of dismissive neighbors seemed louder than ever. They questioned the worthiness of Mia's family, and his stomach churned. How could they not see the truth in her eyes? He straightened and looked around. The familiar faces of his childhood now seemed foreign. In this moment, he wasn't just Jack Lawson, a self-made millionaire. He was simply a man grappling with the reality of his privilege and the pain it often overshadowed. He needed to bridge that gap, but how? Jack. A familiar voice suddenly jolted him from his thoughts. It was Sarah, a woman he had grown up with, her smile radiating warmth. "Joining us for the bake sale?" she asked, waving a tray of cookies as if it held the secrets of the universe. Actually, he hesitated, glancing down at Mia. "I want to organize something. A way to support families like Mia's." Sarah's smile faded. "You think they'll accept help?" Jack's stomach twisted again. Why wouldn't they? Their pride, Jack. It runs deep. Some folks want your charity. He took a deep breath, frustration mingling with determination. This isn't about charity. It's about community. Mia tugged at his sleeve, and he looked down to see her eyes glued to a colorful flyer advertising the next community meeting. "You can tell everyone there," she suggested eagerly. Her faith in him stirred something within Jack, but doubt still clawed at his resolve. That evening, Jack found himself sitting at the local diner, piecing together his thoughts over a cup of coffee that had long gone cold. A nagging worry haunted him. What if the community rejected his offer? What if he was wrong to assume he could help? The weight of the responsibility pressed heavily against him. The next day, he gathered his courage and walked into the community meeting, his heart racing. Familiar faces turned to him, some skeptical, some curious. He saw Mia sitting in the front, her little hands gripping her chair like it was a lifeline. "Thank you all for being here," Jack started, his voice steady as he spoke. "I want to propose a fundraiser support for families like Mia's who need a hand, not just pity." A murmuring spread through the crowd, and Jack's stomach churned. He caught sight of a man in the back rolling his eyes, while Sarah regarded him with a mix of concern and encouragement. "They just want to game the system," the man shouted, voice booming through the room. "Why should we throw money at families who don't help themselves?" Jack's pulse quickened as anger bubbled inside him. What if we're missing something? What if it's not just about handouts but lifting each other as a community? Mia's small voice suddenly rose above the noise, clear and simple. "Daddy Levs. Help him, please." The room fell silent, and Jack saw flames of realization flicker in some of the attendees' eyes. Would they see the truth that Mia carried in her heart? Just then, a woman leaned forward. "Maybe we need to hear their stories before we judge." Was this the beginning of change? Jack held his breath, deeply hoping that he could ignite a spark among them, a sense of unity that would break through the walls that had separated them for so long. As he stood there, he felt a slight tug at his sleeve. He turned to see Mia, her face bright with hope. "Do you think they'll help?" she asked softly. Jack looked back at the crowd, realizing that change was fragile but possible. "I think they might. But first, we must all be willing to listen." The tension in the room was palpable as each person considered his words. Every heartbeat felt like a ticking clock, time stretching as hope filled the air. What would they decide? With anticipation pressing in on all sides, he took a deep breath and waited for the response. The silence stretched on, and Jack's heart raced. A sharp intake of breath came from the back, where the skeptical man sat. "What us to listen to?" he sneered. "You want us to open our wallets for delusions?" Murmurs echoed through the crowd, but Jack held firmly to his resolve. He glanced at Mia, who remained steadfast, her innocent gaze darting between the adults around her. How could he let her down? She had such trust in the very community that was now questioning her worth. "Life is rarely black and white," Jack began again, his voice stronger this time. "Everyone has a story, a battle that they fight, hidden behind the sharp lines of circumstance." The woman who had spoken earlier shrugged her shoulders slightly, leaning forward in rapt attention. "Isn't that the truth?" she said quietly, As if she were admitting a secret that had long weighed her down, Jack seized the moment. Mia's family, isn't just another family in need. They're fighting for each other amid struggles you may not even see. I get it. I've walked through life protected by privilege, but that doesn't make me immune to empathy. Eyes shifted and brows furrowed, and slowly, he saw cracks forming in their cynicism. An elderly woman raised her hand timidly. So, what do you propose we do? Let us have a meeting, Jack suggested, fishing for a plan. Invite families like Mia's to share their stories. Let us hear from them directly. Maybe we go beyond fundraising. Maybe it's about fostering understanding and compassion. From behind him, Mia clapped her hands. Yes, like a story time. That brought a chuckle from some in the crowd, including the skeptical man. Jack smiled encouragingly at Mia, but he felt the weight of what was at stake. If only everyone could see the beauty that lay in vulnerability, in authenticity. Stories connect us, he continued, and they help us understand that the people we judge are often just like us, struggling, dreaming, fighting. The room settled into a hush again, the murmurs quiet as they considered his words. Jack took a chance, stepping a little closer to the edge of the group, the light from the overhead lamp making him appear more vulnerable. If we can't open our hearts, how can we claim to be a community? This isn't just about money. It's about healing. Suddenly, a young mother stood up from the far corner, tears shimmering in her eyes. I came here for a different reason. I wanted to drop off a donation, but maybe that's not enough. Her voice broke. I've been in Mia's situation. I lost my job last year, and it took everything I had to keep my kids fed. Jack's heart warmed with understanding. He hadn't expected this raw truth to surface so soon, but was it enough to encourage the rest of the crowd to share their stories? More people began to nod, and murmurs of hidden struggles spread like wildfire. He swayed deeper into the moment. We don't find strength in isolation, but in unity. Each of us has something to give, even if it's just our time. But then he noticed the man from earlier, his expression a mix of grudging acknowledgement and lingering skepticism. And what if they take? He challenged. What if we hear their stories, and nothing changes? Jack returned his gaze, feeling a mixture of frustration and determination bubbling within. What if we challenge ourselves to change? If we listen, we open the door. Maybe we discover not just how to support, but how to uplift. As the shadows cast by the evening sun stretched longer into the room, Jack held his breath. Would they be willing to try? The crowd seemed to ponder this, a silence that felt thicker now, laden with possibility. And in that moment, Jack spotted something in Mia's eyes, a yearning, a faint flicker of hope mixed with fear, as if she too was holding her breath. Could they collectively embrace change? As the tension swelled in the air, Jack shared another glance with Mia, knowing that the next step could shift everything. Would they take that leap? Jack could feel the energy in the room shift. It was as if the weight of their collective cynicism was beginning to lighten, one shared story at a time. A moment hung just before them, fragile yet full of promise. He inhaled deeply, taking in the faces around him, each reflecting a blend of curiosity and vulnerability. Let us make this about real change, he said, his voice unwavering. We can't stay trapped in this cycle of doubt. Share your stories, your struggles, because that's where the real connections begin. Before he could finish, the elderly woman who had spoken earlier stood up more confidently this time. I lost my husband 2 years ago. I thought I could handle it alone. But I couldn't, she said, her voice trembling. I felt invisible, like the world moved on without me. It wasn't until I shared that pain that I found others who understood. Mia's eyes widened, and Jack felt her small hand clasped tighter around his. He nodded to the woman, offering encouragement. See? You're not alone. We've all faced hardships in one way or another. The skeptical man shifted uncomfortably in his seat, but to Jack's surprise, he remained quiet. Perhaps he was beginning to listen. Another voice rang out, this time belonging to a young man. I grew up in foster care, and it was tough. I never knew stability. I spent summers in different homes, experienced my share of rejection. He shook his head, a determined look crossing his face. But I didn't want the same life for my little sister. I fought tooth and nail to keep her safe. Murmurs of understanding rippled through the crowd as they absorbed the weight of each shared story. Jack could see the seeds of empathy taking root. Hopeful glances spread like wildfire. They were beginning to see mixtures of struggle and strength. With each revelation, Jack felt lighter. The importance of their mission was crystallizing. Every single person here has a unique story. The more we share, the more we learn how to help each other. Mia's small voice broke into the moment, pulling his attention. Can I tell my story too? Her eyes sparkled with determination, tempered by uncertainty. He knelt beside her, a reassuring smile on his face. Of course, Mia. Your story matters just as much. Mia took a deep breath, gripping the hem of her shirt. My dad works a lot, she began, her voice quivering but steady. I miss him. Sometimes I feel sad and alone, but I know he loves me, even if he is not home. Her big eyes looked around the room, scanning for connection. I just want him to be proud of me. The room fell into a silence that buzzed with emotions. Jack felt his chest swell as he watched Mia pour her heart out. This little girl, so brave, had just opened a door none of them had expected. The sorrowful expressions on the adult faces spoke volumes. They recognized themselves in her vulnerability, and perhaps they even saw the reflection of their own children. With her words still lingering, the skeptical man finally stood. Jack's heart raced as he listened. All right, he said, his voice firmer than before. You've made your point. Stories are powerful. But how do we prevent this from turning into just another moment, a fleeting feeling of sympathy? How do we turn it into action? The question cut through the air, heavy yet charged with potential. Jack's mind raced. They needed actionable steps, a way to bring this newfound connection to life. He opened his mouth to propose a few ideas but hesitated for just a moment, aware of the growing anticipation in the room. Could they really turn this moment into something lasting? Maybe it was time for community action, a collective push that transformed compassion into tangible change. He took a step forward, gathering his thoughts, knowing it was crucial to ignite that spark, and as the air thickened with intrigue, Jack caught Mia's hopeful gaze again. He could tell she was ready, just as he was. This could lead to something monumental. Let us find a way to connect, to facilitate relationships, and to build a support network. But before Jack could finish, a loud crash interrupted the moment, echoing from outside. The sudden noise snapped everyone to attention, curiosity igniting anxiety. What had just happened? Jack turned toward the door, his heart racing again, hoping it wouldn't derail their newfound unity. What if the community's next chapter rested on the other side of that door? Jack's pulse quickened as he moved toward the door, the echoes of the crash still resonating in his ears. The room fell into a hush, an uneasy anticipation hanging in the air like a heavy curtain. He glanced back at the group. Concern etched on their faces mingled with hope, which was still flickering after Mia's heartfelt confession. What could that noise have been? His mind raced with possibilities: an accident? A confrontation? He could feel the atmosphere shift again, anxiety creeping back like an unwelcome visitor. He had asked them to share their stories, but now it felt as if a tether was being pulled away. Stay here, he instructed, looking back at the crowd. I'll check it out. Jack pushed against the door, opening it hesitantly. Outside, the sun still shone brightly, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside him. The commotion emerged from a small group gathered around a toppled trash bin near the sidewalk. Curious, Jack moved closer, his heart still thudding in his chest. What happened? He called out, trying to keep his voice steady. A young woman had lost her footing, her elbow scraped and bleeding. She was trying to stand up, but the moment her eyes ran into Jack's, he could see the fear blending with embarrassment painted across her face. I'm sorry, she stammered, flushing pink. I didn't see the bin. Jack stepped forward, extending a hand. It's okay, just take a breath. He helped her to her feet and looked around at the small crowd. Are you all right? I will be, she said, pausing to regain her composure. Just a bit shocked, I guess. The noise behind them swelled, pulling in the rest of the people inside the community center. Jack sensed they were watching curiously, and he felt a surge of protective instinct for the woman. "Look, we're talking about connections in there," he said to the gathering crowd. "Let us focus on the positives here. You're okay. Let us help each other." The atmosphere shifted as he pointed to the nearby benches. "Who can help this lady get bandaged up?" Several people surged forward, including the skeptical man, now standing among the group, looking more approachable than he had moments ago. Jack felt a small victory brewing. Encouraging people to reach out, stretch the fabric of the community. Maybe this was the action step they needed, and it had come at the most unexpected moment. While people tended to the young woman, Mia stepped outside too, her gaze steady on the injured woman. "Do you want me to find some ice?" she asked, her small voice filled with concern. Jack smiled at her. Despite her earlier vulnerability, she was stepping into her own strength. "Great idea, Mia," he said, as hope flickered again in the pit of his stomach. "Let us take care of her first, then talk about our next steps." As the bustle of care went on, Jack felt the mood change. The stories shared earlier, the bravery of Mia, as if they were all threading a tapestry together. This crash, as startling as it was, had brought everyone closer. Just as he took a step back, feeling the weight of unity settle around him, he turned to see the skeptical man watching. There was something different in his eyes, a glint of understanding. "You know," the man said slowly, "maybe I underestimated all of you. Real change starts with even the smallest acts." Jack felt a swell of emotion. "Yes," he agreed, "and that's just the beginning. We can build something here." But before they could get lost in this renewed hope, another unexpected sound rippled through the air, a shout, not far away. A ripple of concern swept over the crowd as they all turned towards the source.
"What now?"
Mia whispered, her face draining of excitement as she clutched Jack's hand tightly. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," he whispered back, tightening his grip on her little hand. Jack's heart raced again as he faced the unknown, knowing that the next chapter was about to unfold. Jack's stomach twisted at the shout. It sounded frantic, piercing through the mingling voices of concern. An adrenaline-fueled energy gripped him as faces turned, eyes widening in anticipation. He wanted to shield Mia from any potential danger, but deep down, he knew that they wouldn't get through this unless they stood together. "Stay close," he said firmly, squeezing her hand as they ventured farther from the crowd gathered around the injured woman. The shout had come from a narrow alley just a few paces away. Shadows danced at the building's corners, muting the bright sunlight. What if it's another accident? Mia's voice was barely a whisper, fear lacing her words. "It might be, but we can't turn away," he assured her. His own voice was steadier than he felt. Each step brought them closer to the unknown, a weighty air thickening around them. Jack let out a breath he didn't know he was holding as they reached the edge of the alley. Peering around the corner, he froze. A small girl stood at the end of the alley, her hand pressed against a nearby brick wall, tears streaming down her cheeks. She looked lost, a little angel in a world that spun too fast for her. Jack's heart sank.
"Hey,
are you okay?" he called, his voice gentle and inviting. The girl turned, her eyes wide and red. In that moment, Jack's heart broke. She looked so small, so alone. I can't find my daddy," she sobbed, the words hanging heavy in the air between them. Jack felt a rush of emotion, the fierce urge to protect. He stepped closer to the girl, Mia at his side, ready to lend support. "What's your name?" he asked, kneeling down to her level, masking his concern with a warm smile. "Lily," she said, sniffling as she wiped her tears with the back of her small hand. "I was playing, and then I don't know where he went." "Okay, Lily. Let us find your daddy together," he assured her, a quiet determination stirring within. He could feel Mia's presence beside him, and the steadiness of her gaze fueled his resolve. Jack turned back to the group, now only a few feet away, still drawn by the commotion. "Can anyone help us?" he shouted, glancing around at the concerned faces. This little girl lost her dad. Instantly, people began to cluster. The skeptical man stood at the front, his expression shifting from doubt to fierce determination. "I'll help too," he called out, stepping forward. "We can search the area. Maybe someone has seen him." Hope surged within Jack as the crowd rallied around them, their earlier anxieties melting away in the face of a common goal. "We'll organize a search," he suggested, glad to see people springing into action. Mia knelt beside Jack and Lily, dainty fingers brushing against the girl's arm as she promised. "We won't stop until we find him. You're safe with us." Lily's trembling eased, just a little. Jack might be thought the situation couldn't get heavier, but as they rallied forward to help, he could already feel the weight of the responsibility settle on his shoulders. This was about more than just a little girl. It was about family, laughter, and the bonds that defined their community. With every passing moment, Jack felt the urgency to act, to move, to bring everyone together, but he also sensed the stakes being raised. Was this all leading to something bigger? The notion echoed in his mind as he looked down at Lily's tear-streaked face and felt the heat of impending turmoil in the air. As they began their search, Jack caught a glimpse of something shiny among the rubble, a toy car tucked behind a dumpster. Suddenly, a gut feeling clenched him. What if finding Lily's dad leads to uncovering something we didn't expect? Just as he reached for the car, he heard another shout, a voice more familiar, but it was laden with a sense of urgency.
Lily,
"Where are you?" Jack's pulse quickened again as he exchanged a glance with Mia. The question burned in his mind. What awaited them at the end of this chaotic moment? Jack's heart raced as he turned to see a tall figure dart into the alley, desperation etched on his face. It was Lily's father, his expression a mix of relief and panic. The man's eyes locked onto Lily, who had risen from her crouch, her earlier fear replaced by a flicker of hope.
Daddy,
she cried, her voice breaking in a joyous gasp. Without thinking, she dashed toward him, arms outstretched. The father scooped her up in a powerful embrace, holding her tight as tears streamed down his cheeks. Jack and Mia stood a few steps back, witnessing their emotional reunion. Guilt and relief washed over Jack, conflicting emotions tangled in his chest. They had found her father, but what about the other families in need? "Thank you. Thank you." The father gasped between sobs, his voice trembling with gratitude. He turned to Jack and Mia, shaking their hands fervently. "I thought I lost her. I couldn't bear it." Mia stepped in, her own eyes misty. "We just helped guide her back to you. You don't have to thank us." Lily clutched her father tightly as he lowered her to the ground, her small frame hardly containing the happiness that radiated from her. Jack felt a swell of contentment watching them, but still sensed an unresolved weight creeping back into the air. Do you know how she ended up here?" Jack asked cautiously, curious about what had drawn Lily away from her father. The father suddenly looked pale, glancing nervously down the alley. "We were at the festival just a block away. I turned my back for a moment," he sighed deeply, as if the memory was another regret bubbling to the surface. "There was a crowd, and she wandered off." I didn't think the worry in his voice struck Jack. "You were separated, but is everything okay? Is she safe?" The man nodded quickly, though he didn't seem to believe his own words. Yes, she is safe now. Thank you for staying with her." His gaze flickered to the people milling about the entrance of the alley, still curious about the commotion. Something in Jack's gut twisted again. But what if there are others? What if someone else needs help? "We can't just leave." A small group of neighbors from the previous gathering turned their attention toward the alley, some still whispering nervously. "We should keep searching, right?" one of them suggested, glancing at the father. "There might be kids who got lost from their parents too." "Yes," Jack agreed, determination igniting. "We can split up and look for anyone who might be missing." The father frowned, a hint of fear returning to his eyes. "I don't want to split up my family again." Just then, another shout pierced through the crowd, more frantic this time. "Help! Help!" A young boy stood at the edge of the alley, tears streaming down his cheeks, clearly terrified. Jack's heart sank. This isn't just about Lily or this father, Jack thought, as Mia took a step toward the boy. There's something deeper happening today, something we're just starting to uncover. The father's face grew stern as he looked toward the boy. This might be another child. We need to act fast. Jack's pulse quickened again, realizing the urgency was bubbling into something immense. An unexpected surge of responsibility fell over him like a wave. For all he knew, today could change everything about their community. As they moved to comfort the boy, a distant siren wailed, breaking through the chaos. Where would it lead them? Jack still couldn't shake the nagging feeling that this was only the beginning of something much larger. Stay close, everyone, Jack urged, his mind already racing. This could be more than just a few lost children, but as they stepped forward to help the boy, the shadows lengthened, hinting at a deeper mystery waiting in the wings. What, Jack wondered, was really happening in their community today? Would they be prepared to face the truth that awaited? Jack knelt beside the small boy, whose bright blue eyes were wide with fear. The boy trembled, clutching a crumpled paper in one hand, glancing around as if the shadows might swallow him whole. "I can't find my daddy," he cried, his voice cracking with desperation. Mia quickly reached out, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It's okay. We're here to help. What's your name?" "Alex," he sniffled, wiping his tears on a sleeve.
He was with me.
"We were looking at the balloons, and then he just disappeared." The boy's heartbreak hit Jack square in the chest. "What color was your daddy's shirt?" he asked, hoping for something to guide them in their search. "Red," Alex said quietly, his gaze dropping to the pavement. He said he would stay close. Jack's determination solidified. "Then let us find him. Can you show us the last place you saw him?" Alex nodded, taking a hesitant step forward. Jack rose to his feet, finding strength in the boy's bravery. As they moved deeper into the crowd, Jack felt the weight of the moment pressing down. This wasn't just about lost kids, it was about families torn apart, the chaotic undercurrent of a festival turned frightening. The area was bustling with laughter, music, and a tapestry of vibrant colors, yet the joy felt like a thin veneer over the anxiety simmering beneath. Jack's mind raced. How many other parents were searching? How many children felt alone and afraid? The distant sound of sirens wailed again, a reminder that time was of the essence. Jack could see anxiety creeping back over Lily's father's face as he clutched his daughter tightly. "We need to stay in groups," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I can't lose anyone else today." "Stay together, everyone," Jack reminded them, his eyes scanning the horizon for any hint of a red shirt. They hurried toward the nearby game booths, their urgency growing as the laughter around them felt more and more like a cruel reminder of what was at stake. They approached a booth decorated with colorful balloons, the same place Alex had mentioned. Jack could see several kids playing nearby, but none of them were the red shirt parent they sought. "Can you go ask if they've seen anyone in a red shirt?" Mia suggested to Lily and her father while she and Jack kept an eye on Alex. They nodded and moved off, and Jack knelt again to speak to the little boy. "Do you see anything that looks familiar?" Alex squinted, anxiety overtaking him again. Suddenly, he pointed wildly. "There. The big clown." He was right there. Jack shot a look at Mia, who nodded in understanding. "Let us go see." As they rushed toward the clown, Jack couldn't ignore the gnawing fear in his gut. What if they didn't find him? What if this day spiraled further out of control? When they reached the location where Alex had last seen his father, Jack's heart sank. The clown stood chatting with a group of laughing kids, his brightly colored costume blaring with attention. But no red shirt in sight. Frustration mounted. Every moment that passed felt like another tick of clock leaving a child in limbo, and it gnawed Jack's resolve.
"Hey,"
he called, waving his arms to catch the clown's attention. "Have you seen a dad wearing a red shirt?" The clown turned, his painted face the picture of confusion. "I'm not sure," he said, eyes darting to the crowd. "But there was a man who looked a bit frantic earlier. He was looking for someone, maybe not too far from here." Jack's heart pounded in his chest. "Where?" Before the clown could respond, a shrill cry echoed through the air. "Help! Somebody help!" A woman rushed into the scene, breathless and desperate, eyes wide with panic. Jack turned toward her, the weight of her fear sinking deep into him. What is it? My son, he's gone. I can't find him. Suddenly, the weight of the day crashed down around them. This wasn't just a chaotic festival, it was a storm spiraling into a potential disaster, with Jack right in the eye of it. As he rushed to comfort her, a thought flickered in his mind. What had set this chaos in motion? What dark undercurrent was threatening to swallow their community? In that moment, as more worried faces began to gather, Jack knew they had to act quickly. But would he be able to keep their hope alive amid a growing sense of dread? What if the chaos of the day was just the beginning? Jack kept his focus on the frantic woman, his heart racing. "What's your son's name?" he asked gently, trying to keep her from spiraling further into panic.
Sam.
He's only 4. He was right here. She gestured wildly, her voice rising with desperation. "Okay, we'll help you look for him," Jack said, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions brewing inside him. He turned to Mia, who was already taking charge. "Can you stay with Alex and keep him calm while I help this lady?" Mia nodded, determination in her eyes. She crouched beside Alex, whispering soothing words as he leaned against her for comfort. "Let us split up," Jack suggested to the woman, whose name he still didn't know. "I'll take this direction. You go back the way you came. We can cover more ground that way." Okay, she stammered, nodding as if that made sense. Jack watched her disappear into the throng, her panic palpable. He moved swiftly away from the noise of the game booths, weaving through the throngs of laughter that felt hollow now. He had to stay focused. Every moment was crucial. As he turned a corner, he spotted a blue jacket fluttering in the wind. A small child's jacket. His heart skipped. Could it be Sam's? He rushed over, but it was only abandoned. "Come on, Jack," he muttered to himself, his heart pounding. It felt like the world was fighting against him, an unseen force that begged him to give in to despair. But he couldn't. He couldn't let fear cloud his judgment. Suddenly, a voice broke through the anxious silence.
"Sam,"
the woman shouted, her eyes scanning desperately. Jack called out to her. "Over here." He waved his arm, but before he could reach her, another child ran past him, laughing, carefree, while the chaos around them pressed tighter. He took a deep breath, shaking off the unsettling feeling of being surrounded by fear. His eyes darted over the crowd, feeling that familiar tug from deep within. "Think, Jack. Where would a little boy go?" "The children's area." Jack remembered the small playground amid the festival. He turned, urgency propelling him forward as he sprinted toward the tent filled with small, colorful structures, climbing frames, and slides. As he arrived, he saw a few kids playing, adults keeping watch. He scanned the faces, his eyes catching on a lone child sitting on a swing, his head down. No red shirt, but still he approached slowly, his heart in his throat. "Hey, buddy. Are you okay?" The boy looked up, his face smeared with ice cream, but he quickly shook his head. "I lost my daddy," he said softly, tears welling in his eyes. Jack crouched down, feeling a mix of compassion and anguish wash over him. "Can you tell me what he looks like?" Jack asked gently. He has a beard. And he was looking at the big ride over there." The boy pointed toward a towering Ferris wheel. Jack's heart sank at the thought of so many rides, so many choices leading parents and kids astray. "Okay, listen, I need you to stay right here. I'm going to find your dad, okay?" The boy nodded, clutching the swing's chains tighter. Jack took a moment to reassure him, his eyes flickering to the commotion surrounding him. The child's frightened expression mirrored the overwhelmed fear that was growing around them. As he sprinted toward the Ferris wheel, a sudden thought chilled him. What if the red shirt they had been looking for was fighting his own fear, lost to the chaos just as these children were? Juggling this fear and clinging to hope, Jack glanced over at Mia and Alex, who were still by the game booths. He had to get back to Alex, to help the growing group. And he had to remember that each lost child was a story worth finding. Would Jack's search lead him to Sam, or would it uncover a larger truth? The ache in his heart deepened as eerie uncertainty settled in. He had to find them before it was too late. With adrenaline racing through him, Jack hurried toward the Ferris wheel. The structure loomed above the festival, a colorful emblem of joy that now felt tainted by urgency. He pushed through the throngs of people, his focus razor-sharp. Every laugh, every moment of fun felt like a reminder of the fear that gripped the hearts of parents, including himself. "Please let me find him," he whispered, urgency bubbling inside him like a boiling pot. The towering ride spun slowly against the bright blue sky, and he wondered how many families had lost track of each other in the chaos. He scanned the crowd, desperate eyes darting until something caught his eye, a flash of red fabric. Jack's heart stuttered. Could it be? He moved toward it. Relief clashed with disbelief. It was a red shirt, but it was tied around the waist of a young man, an unshaven face that looked confused and anxious. "Excuse me, have you seen a little boy?" Jack called out, drawing closer. "Yeah, I think I saw a kid." The man's brow furrowed deeply. He was near the games, over that way. Hope surged in Jack as he turned back, following the man's gesture. "Please," Jack urged. "Don't waste time. Let us go." They rushed together, the camaraderie of the search pushing through the unease that clung like a shadow. Jack could feel unity igniting again, every step an act of defiance against despair. As they passed familiar faces from the earlier meeting, the passion for change lingered in the air, whispering promise amidst the chaos. Jack spotted Mia and Alex, the two of them holding hands tightly. Relief washed over him upon seeing their determined expressions. "Did you find Sam?" Mia asked, her eyes filled with a fierce, unwavering hope. "Not yet," Jack admitted, his voice tight with urgency. "But we're close." "Mia, you need to stay with Alex," Jack instructed, glancing at the boy. He feeling scared. "I need to keep looking." "Okay, I will." Mia responded with unwavering bravery, squeezing Alex's hand tighter as Jack turned back, a newfound determination lighting his way. With every instinct urging him on, Jack reached another game booth, scanning the children's faces. "Sam," he called out, urging his voice above the chatter. The crowd felt like a sea, roiling with uncertainty. Panic threatened to grip him, but he pushed that feeling away. "We're here to help." And then, a voice called out from further away. "Is there a Sam here?" Jack spun around, his heart clattering in his chest. Next to a dizzying spin of bright colors and laughter, stood a woman, frantic, her eyes wide with concern. "I'm looking for my son. Is his name Sam?" Jack replied, rushing toward her. "Yes," he asked, "for I've been searching everywhere." She bit her lip, her voice trembling. "Yes. I just spoke with another little boy, who said he'd last seen his father near a game booth. You've got to tell me where you were." Jack's resolve was stronger than ever. If this was the breakthrough they needed, he would do everything to ensure it stayed that way. Having set off in a new direction together, Jack felt the community's pulse shift again. People rallied around him, faith unfurling in the current of their search. They called out, checking each endpoint, turning over every corner for kids that had wandered away, and amid the growing sense of urgency, moments of light appeared. The skeptical man was right there too, shouting encouragement, joining the ranks to direct people toward the Ferris wheel. "Everyone back over here," he yelled, waving his arms. Mia stood still with Alex nearby as Jack rushed past, taking it all in. She beamed at him, enthusiasm lighting her face, inspiring him with unspoken strength, and suddenly, joy burst through like a sunbeam.
"Sam."
A little boy's voice, filled with relief, rang like melody through Jack's ears. Jack turned, rushing toward the sound, catching a glimpse of Sam's red shirt flapping as he took running strides towards his mother, her arms reaching out like the wings of a sanctuary. They embraced, nestled in each other's warmth, and Jack felt his breath hitch at the sight. Each of them, every child, every parent, was a thread woven through the tapestry of their community. The crowd broke into applause, cheers of relief erupting as people finally felt the weight of connection once more. "We did it!" someone shouted. Jack turned to Mia, her eyes sparkling with happiness. Together, he mouthed silently, joy illuminating the shadows that had once clouded his heart. As they all came together, the festival that had begun in chaos transformed into a celebration of unity. At that moment, he realized that despite the storms life brings, compassion, hope, and community together could weather anything. They had become each other's lifeboat, weaving a fellowship that would continue to fold them back into the warmth of human connection. Today, Jack said, raising his voice over the cheers is about the stories we share. And it's just the beginning. He looked out over the faces that had come together, realizing they had not only reclaimed their community, they had transformed it. Standing beside Mia, Jack felt a familiar rush fill his heart. Today had become a catalyst for change, a promise that their stories would always matter and that hope sparked brighter when shared. It was a new dawn for them all, and Jack knew this wasn't the last chapter of their story. It was merely the beginning. Now you need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting our journey through these actions.